Hello and welcome to therealandalusia.com. I'm Nick Aldrich, and today on a slightly overcast and cloudy winter's day at the end of November, I'm going to be taking you through how to cook a traditional Spanish dish, which is actually known as Rabo de Toro, but we would know as oxtail stew, which was developed in the Andalusian region of Cordoba by the Spanish for the Romans who had invaded at the time and taken over, and they had the bullfights there, and they wanted to be able to eat this beautiful meat, which takes a long time to cook, but is absolutely beautiful once cooked, and it takes some time and involves some tempranillo or rioja, lots of lovely Mediterranean vegetables or root vegetables, and also some I'm just laughing because as I'm filming this, Osmo, the rescue kitten, is on the roof at the back. I don't know if I can spin this round, but he's hijacking the show as always. But fundamentally, oxtail stew or Rabo de Toro is made with lovely oxtail, cooked over time in some lovely herbs and red wine, and let's give it a crack. So this is these are the vegetables and the ingredients that we're going to be cooking with today. So obviously we've got our oxtail from the local butcher, and then we have some red pepper, some celery, some carrots, some onions, some garlic, some rosemary, some oregano, which I'm going to use because I haven't actually got any time. I've run out of time. Some red wine sherry, some red wine, rioja, cheap bottle, salt and pepper, and some olive oil, of course. So I'm going to be chopping this lot up, and we're going to be frying off the oxtail to seal in the taste. So I'm going to get the oxtail into the pan and prepared and chop the vegetables, and then let's see how we're doing in a bit. So I've got my pan on heat, and so we're going to seal these oxtail pieces. So for now, we're just going to literally put some sea salt and pepper on them, and stick them in the hot fat, and then, as I say, that will lock in the flavour into the meat. If we didn't seal them and then we put them into the stew, then basically all that lovely flavour will seep into the stew itself, and you won't taste this lovely meat. So we'll just put those in like so to brown off. I'll do them in 2 batches, and let's see where we get to. So as you can see now, they're starting to take some colour and caramelising a little bit, and that's the sort of colour that I want. So I'll now do this batch, and then we can move on. Okie dokie, so that's our oxtail browned off. The pan's absolutely singed to death and steaming, and I think all the neighbours will think I've set fire to the house because it really does smoke. I will tell you, it's not easy to handle. I was using this to try and lift up the oxtail as I was turning around, but they were sticking to the pan. Then thought, oh, I'll get a couple of forks out and they'll be able to stab into it, but obviously it's all bone, so not the easiest thing to handle and brown off, not like some normal stewing meat. So now we've got our oxtail. I've chopped the onion, and going to add some olive oil into the pan, and then give it a cook for about 3 minutes until they've softened. Always recommend a high quality olive oil. Olive oil is an absolute magic potion. It'll solve world peace. So let's see how that fares for about 3 minutes. So just browning off and softening up these onions, and then I've put 2 onions in. We've got 1.2 kilos of oxtail, and then I'm going to put 4 cloves of garlic in, and then we'll move on to our root vegetables and herbs. Okay, so now I've got the carrots and the celery. So there's a couple of carrots in there and 2 sticks of celery, and I've also now got the tomatoes, which I'm about to add. So there's 750 kilos of tomatoes, if I can show you those. My phone doesn't twist around, unfortunately, so I'm sweating down all these lovely vegetables now, very, very slowly, in the olive oil, high quality, high polyphenol oil, and then I shall be adding 750 grams, 3/4 of a kilo of tomatoes, which are chopped up, and then again sweating those down. So doesn't that look beautiful? We've got our tomatoes in there. I've just added some sea salt and some fresh ground black pepper in there, and I'm just letting them cook slowly and sweat down until the tomatoes start to thicken up and let the juice out, and it'll create a bit of a sort of a mess in the bottom of the pan, and then we know that it's time to add the red wine. At that point we're going to add our Tempranillo, our rioja. I've also thrown in a red pepper, which I said I was going to throw in, but I've not done on the video, but that's in here as well. Then we're going to boil off the red wine for a bit, and then add some sherry vinegar and the rosemary, the bay leaves, the oregano, and then put the oxtail back in. Then we're going to let it go for about an hour and a half. Check on it. We may have to scoop off some fat off the top of the liquid from the oxtail, and then cook for about another hour and a half. It's roughly about 160 for a fan oven, 180 for a conventional oven, centigrade. Okay. So on a high heat, I'm adding a full bottle of red wine to our vegetables, and I'm going to let that boil off for a few minutes to boil off the alcohol. They say it burns off the alcohol. It doesn't. It burns off some of the alcohol, but you never get rid of it. But fundamentally, you don't want too much of that alcohol in the taste. It'll impair the flavour. So we get the up to a high heat on the hob, boil that off, probably take about 3 or 4 minutes, and then I'm going to add 250 mils or a cup of sherry, and then add the oregano and the fresh rosemary from the garden, and then we're going to chuck the oxtail back in there, and as I said, we'll do it for about an hour and a half. We need to make sure that that meat is covered, so if need be, just add some water, and then, as I said, halfway through the 3 hours of cooking, we need to check on it and make sure that that liquid's still covering the meat, otherwise it will just burn. So you can just hear my toast popping up in the background there, because I'm absolutely starving, smelling all this beautiful food, so got to eat. But that's bubbling away nicely now, and the alcohol is coming off that. So I'm now measured out 250 mils of sherry, which I'm adding to there, give it a stir, and then basically let that boil off for a few minutes as well. I'm going to add my bay leaves, and I'm going to add a teaspoon of oregano. Now, fresh thyme is what you should be using, but I haven't got any, and if you do have some fresh thyme, put that in after an hour and a half. At the same time as that hour and a half split, you can drop the temperature down a bit in a fan oven to about 140 after an hour and a half. So it's 160 for an hour and a half, and then 140 for an hour and a half. Obviously raise that by 20 degrees if it's not a fan assisted oven. So there we have it. I've added some water to the wine and the sherry to cover the tops of the meat, and this is now going to go into the oven for an hour and a half at 160. Just one thing to add while the stew is cooking away is I've chopped up some potato into small chunks, which I'm leaving to soak to get rid of the starch. Then I shall dry that off and then add some olive oil and some salt and pepper, a bit of paprika, and I shall put them in the oven or the air fryer, and they'll go absolutely amazing with the oxtail stew. But what I wanted to mention was this. You may have seen me using this bottle of olive oil, which is Citizens of Soil, and this one is a particular Spanish one, and I would recommend it highly. It's a high polyphenol olive oil, extra virgin of course, but very high in polyphenols, which are really good for your health. But actually that isn't what is inside it. So albeit I've been using this bottle because I find it really easy to dispense from, but I fill it up. So as I said, I'm not saying that Citizens of Soil is not the best, but this is what I really recommend. And weirdly enough, it's from Córdoba, so it's from the same place that the dish was invented, but it's the Venta del Baron, and it's their extra virgin olive oil, and again very high in polyphenols. I buy this in 2.5 litre cans, which I buy direct from the grower for about €55 here for 2.5 litres, which is very good. But you can obviously buy it smaller. But this is an award-winning. This has won global awards for and recognition for the olive oil that they produce. So it's great for your health. I take a tablespoonful of this every day. It's really good for cholesterol. Helps with things like diabetes. Supposedly can even reverse cancer, but you know, who knows? But it's really, really good for you. So I didn't want to. I'm not sponsored by Venta del Baron at all, but I just wanted to mention that it's a very good olive oil. It's available all over. It's won lots of awards, and I should be putting it on those potatoes before I chuck them in the oven and serving it with the oxtail stew. Okay, so here's the potatoes that I've part boiled them and had added a pinch of baking soda to the salted water, which helps make them really crispy when you put them in the oven or fry them. So they're going to be like a patata bravas to go with the stew, but they won't have the sauce that normally goes with patata bravas. And then here I've just put some chopped carrots, which I've covered in olive oil, and added fennel and some oregano and salt and pepper. So they'll roast for about 20 minutes, as will the potatoes. Now the oxtail stew's been in there for about 3.5 hours. So I think I've now turned up the gauge to 180 to finish it off, because I tried the oxtail earlier a few minutes ago and it was still not falling off the bone like I wanted it to. So I've turned the heat up and I'm doing it for a bit longer, and that's what you must do. You must try it. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the oxtail out of the pan, out of the pot, and then I'm going to get one of those handheld liquidizers, and I'm going to mulch up the gravy, which will make a nice thick and rich sauce, and then put the oxtail back into it. So all the vegetables that I've got, all the goodness and flavour from that will still be in the sauce, but it'll be rich and thick. Hence why I've now added these extra root vegetables here to go with the meal. So as you can see, I've separated the oxtail now out of the pan, the stew. Still got to put my accompaniments in the oven, but they can be cooking while this is resting, and I shall just keep this hot on the stove. So I'm now going to use the liquidizer to blend this up. Which will take some time. Always sticks to the bottom. So I'm going to mulch this up, and then we'll see what it's like in a bit. And as if by magic, it is done. Just to let you know, I left the bay leaves in, so that wasn't great. I managed to rescue one, the other one is now shredded. Also, I've just added a little bit of salt and pepper to make the taste a little bit more intensive. I've just added the oxtail pieces back into the pan, back into the sauce, and the accompaniments are now in the oven, and will be ready in about 25 minutes, where they will be served in a warm bowl with some roasted carrots, potato bravas without the sauce, but we've got this sauce, and some very tender oxtail in a lovely rich sherry and wine sauce. So, right at the end, the final. So we have some lovely roasted potatoes, small potatoes, and some fennel roasted carrots, and the oxtail stew. So find out on another video to see whether anybody liked it or not, or whether Osmo the cat got to eat the lot. And there we go, the finished meal. Not presented amazing, but let's hope it tastes better than it looks.